Hey people, it's been a month since I had these teeth put in. They still hurt like hell. If they don't do something about it soon, I'm going to go postal and y'all going to hear about me on the evening news. But I thought I'd show them to you one time and make you a movie. I've been reading the Latin along with the Greek and the Hebrew lately, and it helps. I finally caught on to the Latin. It was the most difficult. And it really helps to enlighten some of the words in the Greek and the Hebrew. Even though they're not the same books, it's different writings. It still helps to define the words. But I'm going to show y'all some stuff you didn't know about the 10 Commandments. It wasn't 10 Commandments, it was 20 Commandments. There was 10 at first, but Moses couldn't even make it off the mountain. He broke all 10 Commandments before he ever made it off the mountain. So they had to overwrite 10 more. And so it kind of goes with the law, laws for thee and not for me. If you've seen Charles Heston in the 10 Commandments, he comes down off the mountain after God done wrote these commandments with his finger. And he's mad because everybody's having a drunken orgy. And so he throws the commandments at their bull god and destroys them, and they're all shattered. But this is the law. L-A is the Hebrew for no, they say. The L before the A reads as N, and this is no. And when it comes with a Y after, that's nay. And when it comes with a T after, that's not. Thou shalt not, and nay, don't, no. You'll see it, no, and sometimes they get confused and they'll put it backwards, the A-L, which sometimes they'll say means God or tree or these. Sometimes they'll say that means no. And what's happening is this mark over here telling you to read this backwards. So the next letter is the A. And so that's where they're getting that nary. N-N-A-R-Y. No let be seen. Nair for hair. To remove your hair. Nair. Nary. You won't see none of it. And then sometimes they just choke up and they got to put no on everything in order to make it fit what they're trying to force over it. But you see right here, it's just in the same line. It's before, and then it's neither, and then it's no. And I'm sure somewhere on the same page you'll see this means God, or these things. And so they just make it all up as they go along. A couple lines down, it's unto. On the same page, line 6, and it's God. And not just a God like they usually say this means, but Lord God. You'll see it here, 9, N-A-I-N, 9, by no means. It means the Nazis are watching you. 9 feet. Don't let me see it. Don't let it happen. And imagine this is a hard chapter for them, because they do the same thing here with this word 59:21, upon, and all, just and all. Now it's to, and all, and, and not have been done is no, never of. So when is Nibiru coming from? It's not, no, it's never of. Never been done. And not you shall worship, to see, not statue. No statue. And then, so the God is no. See no statue, no, not your see. Not your see you. And can assume all Cain's who? And everybody who does, you can expect a cane on that ass. And you shall make is to see, and not you shall make is not to see. But you see most of them start with the L-A-T, not. Or no tracks, T-R-X-H. No tracks, don't leave no tracks. No, do not kill. And not nap, T-N-A-P. N-A-T-N-A-P. Don't be napping around. No sleeping around. No fornicating. And not nab. T-G-N-B. G-N-B. Nab. Don't be thieving. No nabbing. Not nabbing. And not one, O-N-E, let not one bear false witness. But in the original, it was a little different, and it had a big tail. You see this one letter that's way off, this H that's offset, and here's this P that's been offset off of the word, and many words throughout here. You see it in honor of the Sabbath, that the R is offset. And the 6 days to work, you see it's got this IT offset over here. And it's not, they don't put it out here like a separate word because it was part of the same word. It was just a half space put in there. And where it begins, in this 6 days, you see they offset that first S in 6. And all those that hate me, they put that Y way over here in la snay to snay. And see, they put a K on the end of everything that is yours. And so those who hate me is la snay, but those who hate yours is the snake. And then up here on the water, you see how they separated the word mem is the water. They got it split up too. And then beneath, they had to split that word up with the MTHT. And bid him, to serve him. And from in it, not out of the house, but from in it. And the biggest clue here is the first line, Ten Commandments, and it's word, and word, and in the beginning was the word was God, word, et call the word, all the words. Big clue there. And so, and spoke God is wide of, it means how or who, how'd of or who'd of, and rule, R-A-L, the head, power, knowledge of the rule. And wide have ruled him, the one, and then God spoke. Who'd have ruled him at called every meal in Ammer. And so this is reading as a M-E-A-L, the meal, every meal. And the L followed by the A reads as an N. I suspected this a long time ago, and I never looked into it hard. I imagine it reads different ways like the other reading directions. But it's at called every meal in Ammer is somebody who ain't missed no meals. And wide have ruled him. The rule is at called every meal in Ammer. The one that's called at every meal. Anki, this is Yankee. This is the big fat jolly red-haired god. Saint Nick, and Anki, the old god of the oceans. In Anki and Jew, meaning praise and a value of praise, and the Anki Jew alike. And so, there's more than one God. The K is what your comes from. So when you were made in God's image, it looks different because you're all like your God, your God. And so what, Jew alike is the DNA passed down. And the honky Jew alike as roots, R-E-W-T-S, the roots at he commerce, the K-M-A-R-X, commerce, brought you out of the land. He's the roots at commerce from crime, doing something illegally. The roots from commerce, from in it abidum. And so this is a servant, a bed, a sex slave. And from in it abidum, do what they say. And honky Jew alike as the roots at commerce. From crime, from in it abidum. And so it goes on, he breaks them up. And that's Exodus 20. And then in Exodus 34, it's telling me to shape some more stones and bring one up to me, and I will ascribe them super. And not on, but super is over. I will scrib them overs. It's scrib them over. I will write over the old the old rules, because Moses broke all 10 before he ever got off the mountain. And this word for break over here, that's the only place you see this word when you break a deal. Which phragistic, which went back on the deal. And then in the Greek over here, it's hilarious. And I will write. You know how they say God wrote it with his finger. And I will write and crap so if it on the place on and crap so if it on and shit on my finger. And it's talking about the let. And this word, your word for writings, your tablet, the toilet, the latrine, and that's where they're getting this dress. They're trying to say it comes from dressing room, but it's where the ancient writings come from, and that's what this is talking about. Is you see in the next line right here, the gen of, the origin, where it comes from. And the etymes, the E-T-E-M, etymas, and the true origins, the etymology, is the gen of etym, the true origins of language. And to forge, I believe you see in the Septuagint, this is separated in two words, and you see it now in the Greek and in the Hebrew, to forge. You see it here in the Hebrew, the QR. And it'd be followed by the yum, the I-U-M, the forgeum, to create the days. But this is where the ancient writings come from. The first people they wrote with shit on the bathroom wall, and that was the joke. That was the people who were writing. That's where they traded their newspaper at. That's where your word letters come from. You see it here, and the letter as in has... the tablets first, the letter has in them. And here in the Greek, it's in crap, so if it on, place on, to remedy. The A, followed by A here, it's reading as an I. To a remedy. And have vent, an event. And we're upon the event days, D-A-Y-S. And having days... a plots in, and this in the yellow here, this was in the Septuagint. It wasn't in this Bible. I just put it in here to show how it read in the other Bibles, these yellow words. But this is the word is teasing. It's different every time. And this in the Greek, this line wasn't in the Latin or the Hebrew, and it's where the word gravity come from, the V-E-T-I, vidi, and this is usually the word for, and went up as kataba in the Greek, and went down, and take this down and write this, and katabiti and unavity, and unavity force me. But what the story actually says is these were displayed in the public outhouse, and then they were taken from there and put in his porta potty. Look it up, the Ark of the Covenant, and it was 4 by 2 by 2, and it was made of wood of acacia, overlaid with gold, and had a lid called the mercy seat, and a thatch hole. I don't remember if that was in the Greek or the Hebrew, but it's called the thatch hole. A thatch is a cover, a seal on your outhouse. So I just recently started looking at this Latin and comparing it to the Hebrew and the Greek. And so I haven't compared the words in different places in the Latin yet. So I'm going to try to read this just from what I learned from learning the Hebrew and the Greek. And it sounds like, oh Nazi here, act thine seps, as the teachings receives, and this would be what the king of the shithouse would write above his poem, as you accept the teachings, as thine seps, presided Tibi. And so that means his god is Saturn. The 82, somehow the ancients knew lead would be number 82 on the periodic table. Somehow they knew that it had 82 protons and electrons in there. And it was Saturn. And so in order to write 82, you would write it PB. PB, 82. And so that meant to pee in. So it was the word that was on the public restroom, 82. And what it is after these commas here, these words read backwards and forwards in here. It says more, just like in the Greek. And preside and TIA, to itivity, IVITI, to activity by, to activity. I have this feeling to preside at to activity. I just have this feeling to establish, no fide has, la pied has, no trust has, lapidated, getting old, walls looking rickety and lapid, and no fide has insta priorum, priorum, the one who's most important. And so it's talking about the king of writing on bathroom walls. And as you receive the teachings, as you're reading it out, you're sitting on the toilet reading this off the stall door. To preside, the king of 82, the king of Saturn, the king of the shitter, king of lead. To establish the no fight has, no trust has. That means they done took the shit house door off, and you're in a stable. To a stable has, no trust has, no door has. In a jailhouse, shit house. Instapriorum, what's most important, it scribbles over, it scribbles super. It scribbles over and writes over whoever had shit on the wall the last time. And I will write on. No, and scribbles over has verb acquest. Has verb acquest. You're searching. If you ever read a shithouse wall poem that was very long, sometimes it's hard to find out where the next line starts, and you go searching for the next word of the poem. And that's those letters that are kind of hung off in those words on the 10 verbums, on the 10 words. And has scribum over, has verb acquest haver when, in searching for the next word, the haver when. And verb acquest have where when. And the double T, I believe that's reading as a TIA and BULES. And divulge, like divulge. And the verb acquest haver when, divulge, to divulge in your thrill of reading shithouse poetry and chasing the word. And verb acquest have when, divulge is quas fragisti. Quas, that's where they're getting that witch. And if you look that up, Google will tell you, sometimes they'll say that means broke. But all the QU words, sometimes you can just replace it with a W. But it's they're all questions. What, why, who, when. And double is whose fragisty. And so this E here, and fragment and all that, that's all means broken in this category of Latin word. But when it comes up with the E, this phragisty, this means a broken promise. And then in the Greek, it's an Epicurus promotion. Epicurus, I usually read this as a wise, in the other Bible it has the N as wise in. But when I notice in the 3rd chapter of Genesis, he's wanting to know what it tastes like. And that's the first time I noticed that it didn't have the N in there. And Epicurus. And I would like to know what that tastes like. A promotion. There is no motion. It's a motion. To get something to move, before you move it, you have to have promotions. And an Epicurus promotion is a food commercial. And I would like to know what that tastes like. A juicy hamburger on your food commercial. It's pushing a promotion. And an Epicurus promotion, a latch who's on sieve to. Sieve to, well, I was sitting on the latrine. The latrine who's on sieve to. I was sitting on the toilet when I received this Epicurus promotion. And so he's reading what's on the bathroom wall. and do of lack as lied and as, and I never lie, always tell the truth, and do of lack as lied and as. Akados way portage. What's most important? The first thing, the portage. And the kados, your nuts, and way. Way is like anchors away, means to lift. Your kados, to lift portage. And so if you look up ancient Hernia, whoever had the biggest set of kados, that would be the king over there in some of the African places. And you'll see there's a whole bunch of them side by side, and some of them got nuts as big as Volkswagen tires. The kados weigh portage. It's what guys go out on Friday night and do something stupid to show who's got the biggest nuts. The kados weigh portage. What's most important? Whose nuts are biggest? And anivity. And anivity forced me is to a rose. And so anivity, the anob. The knob is what's in. It's like Bruce Lee. It says, don't be the glass, be the water. Be what's in the glass. Fill the cup. Don't be the cup, be the water. And so knob that's what's in. And itty and nib itty is that quality. Have the quality of the knob, of what's in the spirit. Don't be the body, be the spirit in it. And anivity forced me his to arose. And crap so if it on plaque on. And crap so if it on place on to a remedy. I will write the story in crap to a remedy of event as a plot sin. And like I said, this N is only a Septuagint. It wasn't in this Bible. And the N to plotzy. The days for days is Sue in trips as. Is you tripping over there? The SU, they say is you, but it's reading with this S over here. It's reading as a Y, YU. And you, and this N trips here, this is like the Egyptian inter, and it's the B, and you be trips as, you be tripping over there. But when it's the broke, the same as the phrygisty over here, and it's, you better if as. That's what your country girl tells you, that's just good as wedding vows, what you better if as. And then in the Hebrew, that's a why am, how am, who am, reveal, and said Yahweh too, that's how the Lord's, God's talk, they just reveal things through smells, trails. And why reveal seps, seps, they accept. Same was over here in the Latin, the seps, them seps, them receives, the teaching them receives, and how reveal from seps lick, the double L-I-K, the seps licks inlet, a venom, a crashinum, and captivity. And I cut you down, all a lead at, and wide open, all a lead at, had ever as rive all, and not reveal like up here, is a R-I-E twisted and twisted veal, as in reveal in twisted ways. And this is a rive all, and as rive is to go in and plunder, go ahead and rive everything. And as rive all the letters as in 'em. And plunder all the letters as in 'em. And assure a sure sever it, to cut it off. Reveal from seps licks in a let of inum. In a let of, portalet, toilet, everything having to do with the letters. It comes from the potty mouths. And reveal, and you see from seps licks in let of inum crashed them. And so is this K right here at the beginning. Your is the K at the end, and like is the K in the front. And it's the same as this as over here is what that'll take the place of. And so it's, then, and give a rationum, or crashing. I'm going to crash over at your place. And sensitivity, and you see the dots on the B. This is a V-I-T-I, vidi. And you see it in all of them. You see the same thing right here in the Greek, the vidi. And it's over there, the vidi. It's just the other way. You don't see it, but it's the T-I-V-I-T-I when you read it with the marks, the vidi. You see in the word verb, the backwards, it's a bear, that's and created with the word, a bear. To bear is create with the word. And you see the Ramada, this is the word backwards into Hebrew, Amar, Ramah. But you see, they say it's like the first ones, and that's the K is the like, and the first is Ra. And this definitely isn't ones, because this is the same word of two, this right up here, S-I-M. This is twos, two and twos, like the first twos. Insensitivity all a lit at head everum has reeve all the letters, assign 'em, assure severed, assure is cut off. So if you're catching this, you can see how much of a great help it is to have the 3 books, the Latin, starting to figure out the Latin a little bit to help to figure out what some of this means, because they're not all reading the same. They're at different times, and at the time of the Hebrew, and all they really had to do was just sever it, had to cut it off. And then at the time of the Greek, the remedy was the plots in the days for days, as you enter as you enter ifs as. And then by the time the Latin comes around, it was time to go ahead and scribble them overs, and scribble super, and overwrite the words. Overwrite the verb quest, the word search, having her when it's divul is, whose fragicy, whose broke. It didn't break the commandments, it's the person whose broke. So by the time the Latin was written, you could see that, the minds were devolving some. They still were pretty witty there, and they had some tricks, but they were nothing like the Greek and the Hebrew. But you can see that this word for the stones, this is the no, the thou shalt not, la, the don't trust has. Don't trust what's written on those stones. But if you read this as a L, it's a lap. It's a lap ideas, and that's what you do when you're writing on the bathroom wall. You write your story, and then somebody comes over and he's an instant prioritizing. He writes right over the top of your shit. And lap ideas, it scribbles over. It scribbles super, and writes them over. And has the verb a quest to have her. You're going searching for words. All right, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.